Dan Abbott. I'm doing this video from my print reading class at Southern Maine Community College in response to a request by a student to demonstrate one of these by hand. In class, what I tend to use is SolidWorks to show you what models look like, AutoCAD if I'm sketching, then I do some sketching, but I've never started off and done a complete sketch on the grid paper that I'm giving you. So let me just go and show you how you go about doing this. In particular, how you go about doing it if you've got something that's too big to fit on the sheet. So those are the objects you had to select from to do an orthographic sketch of and then add dimensions to. And what I'm going to do is take a look at this lever hub, and I'm doing it because I know the lever hub will not fit on a sheet of A-size paper, which is what I'm giving you here, at a 1-to-1 scale. It's going to have to be at a different scale. Now how do you decide that? Well, let's do a little bigger version of this. So we've got this right here. We need to figure out how we have to put this on the sheet, how much room we need for a front view, how much room we need for a right side view, how much room we need as far as height for the front view, how much room height for the top view. And we need to know how much room we have to work with. I'd like to have a little space around my views. Well, let's just say we're going to start, say, around here. So if we're going to do here, the way I've got this grid paper divided up, the big dots, the dark dots, those are inches. So it's 1 inch square from here to here. And I've divided it up into decimal inches. So 0.2, 4, 6, 8. So there's 0.2 inches for each of those small squares, which is, as it tells you right down here, approximately 5 millimeters. It's pretty darn close to 5 millimeters. From a sketching point of view, you can sketch fairly accurately using either metric units or decimal inch units. Now, the reason it's close enough is because you're going to be adding actual dimensions on there. And my purpose in this is to have you demonstrate to me that you understand both orthographic projection and the rules of adding dimensions. Those of you that are AutoCAD users, you can do all of this on AutoCAD if you want, because in AutoCAD you'll be doing essentially the same thing. You're creating geometry, putting dimensions on there, but you have to understand and know AutoCAD well enough to create a proper dimension style. And that dimension style must meet the ASME standards, which AutoCAD will not do by itself. So if you haven't learned enough about AutoCAD to do that, then don't try to use the software. Let's see if I can make this a little bit better. The document camera that I have will do an autofocus, and I really think if I focused it myself it would work better, but it doesn't give me the option. So how much room do I have on this whole sheet going across? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 inches, or 9 times 25 millimeters, or the total going all the way across the sheet would be 225 millimeters. By the way, how do I know this is a metric drawing? Those numbers are so large. 174 has to be millimeters for mechanical part, or it's an incredibly large mechanical part. Considering that my height is 72 inches, 174 inches would be a very large mechanical part. So that's why we have that. So if you take a look at this, just going across the front, how much room do we need? We need 174. So if we do this, let's do this over here if we were trying to do it at 1-to-1 scale. How much room do we need for the front view? The width of the front view would have to be 174. Plus the distance from the center axis of that cylinder to the outside edge. Since the diameter of the cylinder is 108, it's 108 across here, must be 54 out to the other side. So if we add those two together, we're going to need 228 millimeters for just the front view. Now I told you that if you left about 50 millimeters of space between views, that would be plenty for the dimensions. If I look at this and analyze it, I'm going to put most of my dimensions on the front view, and I'm calling the front view the view that cylinder shows up as a circle. So I'm looking at it like that. That's what I'm calling my front view. If you take a look, we're going to have a lot of dimensions. That dimension is going to be in the front view. That dimension won't be on the front view. Neither will the 82 will be on the front view. The 50, the 50, the 35, the 16, the 16, probably I'll put those on the right side view. So maybe those two are going to be on the front view. The diameter of those circles, the diameter of the middle circle, the diameter of the big circle, all in the front view. So there'll be a lot of dimensions on the front view. There'll also be some in the right side view, but I don't think I need 50 millimeters. So let's just say we need 40 millimeters between the front view and the right side view to put our dimensions in. So how much room do we need on the right side? 64. So we put that in. So if we're going to add all those up, we get 12 here, 10, 13, we need 332 millimeters across the entire front of the sheet. Well, clearly that's not going to work with 225 millimeters at a 1-to-1 scale. But if we divide it in half, we could easily fit it on there at a 1-to-1 scale. So we know that at least going across, we need to do a 1-to-2 scale. Up and down, do the same thing over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 125 millimeters. Up and down, do we need 125? Do we have it? No, but do we have at 1 to 2, do we have enough? So if we look at the front view, the height of the front view is going to be 108 millimeters. If it were 1 to 1, 1 to 2, it's going to be 54 millimeters. Space in between still needs to be 40. You don't make that space smaller. You still need enough space for your dimension. So if we say that's 54 going up and down, so now we're going horizontally, now we're going vertically. So the front's going to need 108 millimeters if we were to do it at a 1-to-1 scale. Another 40 millimeters in between. And then at the top it's going to need 64, 12, 10, 11, 212. Again, at 125 up and down, that wouldn't be big enough to go up and down, but we can divide that by 2. So now what I would do, knowing that now, just to remind myself, I would go through and say, all right, what's half of this? Because all these dimensions now have to be half the distance on the sheet to be a 1-to-2 scale. And now that I know that's a 1-to-2 scale, I'm going to put 1 to 2 as the scale right there. So all right, I'm just going to go quickly circle. 64 is going to be 32 millimeters on the drawing. 174 is going to be 87 millimeters on the drawing. 22 is going to be 11. 22 is going to be 11. Again, we don't have to worry about the 0.2 because we're doing a sketch. 10 is going to be 5. And I could maybe circle those just to make a point. So the point here is I can quickly go through, and just to avoid having any mistakes, I could go ahead and put these numbers on right now. That's going to be 54. Down here, the size of that hole, which is round up to 58. So now we got 29 for that size. Up here, we'll just put 20. We don't really need to worry about a 0.5 millimeter when we're doing a sketch like this. 41. You got a 6 over here. By the way, you won't cut the 45 in half. That's an angle. That's not a distance. So we got the 11 up here. 17. 25. 25. 8. 8. Now, do you really have to do this? No, you don't have to do it. But it doesn't take very long to do. And now you can just look at those circled dimensions as you're starting to lay this thing out. Now, as far as laying it out goes, I'm going to do this. Well, put this off to the side. I'm going to lay it out by figuring out where the front goes. And I'm going to box this whole thing in. I'm going to box in the front view, the right side view, and the top view. That's circular. I'm going to just use... Okay, so what I need here is 54 millimeters from here to here. If I look over here, that would be 25, 50, and then most of another little square. And that would be 25, 50, most of another little square. I'm just going to make that the center of my circle right there. If I make that the center of my circle, it's a little easier to put everything in there. So it's going to shift things slightly, but it's not going to make a big difference. So if the overall is 54, then the radius, the distance from that center, is going to be 27. So from here I'm going to need 27. Well, there's 25. 6, 7, a couple little marks right there. So I know that this is going to come out to about here. Coming up, it's going to go up to about here. Going down, it's going to go down to about there. Now, there are a couple ways that I can sketch that circle in there. And most of you are not doing circles very well because they're kind of hard to sketch. I've got a compass, so I'm going to use that when I actually do it. But one thing I could do is take a scale. And this is a metric scale here. 27 is right there. And I could start by saying, all right, if I just measured over 27 from each one of these things and put a little mark there. So from here, 27 is going to be here, and then just keep swinging it down a little at a time, and then go 27 right here, then swing it down a little more, and just start at the center each time, and come down 27 here, come down here, 27 here, and then down below 27 here. I could do that with a little sheet of paper. I could do that with this. When I've got that now, I've got kind of a little curve here, and I could just use that to sketch and do that all the way around, and I'll end up with a pretty good curve. Or I could take a compass, and I have a compass right here. It's got a lead in it. Move that down a little bit. I just want to make the points of the compass line up with the... Now this is what we used to use when I took drafting. First class I took in drafting was 1967. That's the compass. So I put the point of the compass at the center, open this up so it opens up to 27, and this I can use to make a complete circle, and you see it kind of comes down through here, and it's pretty darn close to what I sketched. So you can do that. You can find something that's about the right size, and then when you're done you can go back in, and then you can darken it up by just sketching right along the lines that you made or the points that you made. And you can see I'm just doing short overlapping lines, and I'm not too concerned about the fact that it's going to be a little bit fuzzy looking, as long as it's dark and clearly represents a circular part. Then that's close enough to a circle for what I'm doing with this assignment. If you take a look at the hole in the middle, the diameter is 29. Let's just call it 30, because if we call it 30, we divide that 30 by 2, we get 15. And that's pretty easy because we go 1, 2, 3. So the hole's going to come out here. 1, 2, 3. It's going to come up here. 1, 2, 3. It's going to come here. Going to come here. Now again, I could just take a little sheet of paper. I could say, well, on my sheet of paper is 15 right there. Then I can just start doing this. Make sure I line up with the center and just keep going around. And I could put a couple little dots in here. And as I do that, coming around, it's going to give me a target for doing my sketching. Or again, if you've got a compass, and I know some of you do, I could just take that compass and do this. If you don't, just give yourself a target so your circle is at least sort of circular. I'm going to do this to make a construction circle, and then again I'd come back in here and I would darken it up like this. I need the geometry before I put the dimensions on, and then I'm going to start putting my dimensions on as I do the geometry. But I'm going to get this all laid out to show you how this works before I do anything else. So there is the beginning part of this. So if we look at this then, the next thing we need to do, now that I've got that established, I'm going to block in the entire front view. The entire front view width is 228. 174 plus 54, 228. Overall though, from right out here all the way to the other end is going to be half of that at a 1 to 2 scale. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, or let's just take the 174. The distance from the center out to the end of this part is going to be 174, so I need 87 millimeters. Now again, I'm going to estimate that. From here, I have 25 millimeters, 50 millimeters, 75 millimeters, 80 millimeters, 85 millimeters, and then I can just go, and right there is 87. Now, that's where the end of my part's going to be. I'm going to just draw a little construction line in there, and now I know where to stop the other lines coming in. As long as I'm blocking this in, the overall height of this is 84. I'm going to call it 41, but because I'm sketching, I'm going to call it 40 instead. So what I need is 20 millimeters from the center line. So 1, 2, 5, 10, 15, 20. That line right there is going to be where I'm going to put top line coming in like that. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 coming down here. Then I can draw that line across. Now you don't need a straight edge. If you don't want to use a straight edge, it's fine. But a straight edge is kind of helpful as far as laying things out go. If I look at that, I could start darkening that in right now, but I'm not going to. So now I need about 40 millimeters, maybe. I don't think I need any more than that. So what I'm going to do is say, where's my 40 millimeters? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, right about here. Let's just go another 5 just to make sure. So now the right side of this is going to be right here. And then the width of this part is 64, so I need to go over 32. Now again, that's why I wrote these down, so I can just look at them. It's a 1:2 scale. So it's 32 over from here is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 32. Now I can actually give myself more room, I realize, looking at this. So let's just start here. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 32. So instead I'm going to actually put my right view here. That gives me plenty of room between views for all my dimensions in case I need more than I think. So we'll start here. 32 is going to be right out here. And I could just line my straight edge up with the grid paper. Didn't line that up very well, did I? Because I wasn't looking as carefully as I thought. 32 is correct, yeah, okay, so 32. So it's going to be right about here. And now, just to give myself a little better shot at it, I'm going to put a little mark right here as well. Now I'll put my straight edge against the lead holder, against here, we'll do that. So there's the width. Now as far as projecting other things go, I know I'm going to bring this over, going to do that, and I'm also going to come over from here, and from here it's all the way down there, so I can just project it like that. So this is where my cylinder is going to go, right here. And then up here, the cylinder is going to go just above that line. And then this is going to be projected over as well. And this is that whole idea of using orthographic projection. But I know I've got the whole thing blocked in right here. I'm going to need the cylinder part on here, but I've got my other lines laid out. I got enough room between for the dimensions. Then I'm just going to go to the top. Do the top, I think it's going to be maybe a little tighter. I'm not quite sure. So what do we need in the top? We need 32 up there as well. So let's just see if we came back here. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, right about here. Yeah, that's going to give us plenty of room here. So I'm going to start my top view right there. Now I know coming up here, I can put a little mark right there. Coming up here, I can project that all the way up, put a little mark right here, and I'm just using my grid to estimate those things. Coming down, 32 is going to be right about here. Coming over here, 32 is also going to be right about there. So now what I've done is blocked in the top view. I can do that by sketching. Just do a little bit of a sketch right here. Little construction line. Come over here. Do a little construction line over here. And this is just so I have a target for how I'm going to put things in all these views. And you can see, as much as possible, just sketch directly on one of the lines. So what I've got now is all the views are blocked in, so now I can start adding in the detail. That becomes pretty straightforward if I've got the right kind of squares. So let's take a look at this. So one thing I can do right now is I can put in my object lines here. Once I've got something sketched out with a construction line, it's very easy to go in, and you notice I'm just doing short overlapping lines. I can turn this and do this, it's very obvious where my object lines are compared to the grid and to the construction lines that I use. Now if I start adding details like this one right here, you'll notice that that's 32. Well, half of that is 16. The distance from here to here is half of that distance, so half of that is 8. So I'll just come over from the center line. And you notice I put the center line right where I needed it, right here. So 8 is going to be 5, 6, 7, 8. 3 of the little dots, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right here, take a straight edge, just put it on there and just kind of line it up with the grid. Now I know, and I'm just going to put a really dark line in right from the beginning. Now I know that there's going to be a line right here. Down below, there's going to be, right there, going to be a line right here. And if you don't think that's dark enough, you just go back over it afterward like this and darken it in. So now I'm starting to fill in all the gaps. So if I come from, let's put these, okay, that's the width of this. So from there down is 16 and 16. So 16 is going to be 5. Half of 16, don't forget, that's why I put these in. So I'm going to go down, half of 16 is 8, so 5, 6, 7, 8, there's going to be one here. From here, I'm going to go 5, 6, 7, 8, it's going to be right about there. And I also want to know how far in this goes. That's 114. I forgot to turn that into, I didn't cut that in half. So 57, and that's how far back it's going to go. So we'll go back 55 and a couple more. So how do you do that? Well, you've got already 3 more here. So let's just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That would come in right about there. So in other words, if it's going to be 114 back, and I'm going to 1 to 2 scale, I divide that by 2 and I get 57. So I'm going to go 57 back from here. Now you also have scales that I gave you, which means you can just use your millimeter scale, find 57 on the scale, and then go back and see where that's going to be. It's going to be right about there. Or you can count using the grid, because if you're off by a couple of millimeters, it won't make any difference to me because it'll be obvious what you've done. And then the numbers you put on have to be the right numbers. So now that's going to be a dark line coming over here. Line these up. It's going to be a dark line coming over to here. And then this is going to be a dark line coming down here. And you can use a straight edge to make your dark lines, or you can go back after the fact and you can darken them in by just sketching on top of them. Or you don't have to use a straight edge at all. You can just sketch using the grid lines as a guide till you get all those features in here like so. Let's see what else we've got here. Got a couple of circles in the middle. No circles in the middle on this. And you've also got, this is a case where you've also got a couple lines right here representing those chamfers. I'm going to wait till I get the top view sketched in before I do that, because then I can project directly down to figure out where that goes. In the top view, I'll do a 45-degree angle. I'll show you what I'm going to do with that in a second as well. But 35 back from here. Divide that in half, you get 17. So from the back, right here, there's one, we have 8. That's about 7 right there. So let's go with our 7. 17 is going to be right here, so that actually works out pretty well. So we're going to have one circle right here, and the size of that circle going to be 22, so half of 22 is 11. So we're going to have it 11 up and down. Well, you know what? 10's close enough to 11 for me, so we're going to have a circle that fits right in here. Then we're going to go from here 50. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, 50 divided by 2. 50 wouldn't fit. 50 divided by 2 is going to be 25. 1, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Happens to be right here. Once again, we're going to have this as our little marks. And you can also do the same thing with the paper when you go and sketch that out. That's going to be a little tough even with a compass to make that small enough. But I think I probably can. Yeah, so again, I like to give myself a little more help. But you know what you could do here? Say, you know what? I got a dime. Dime might just about do it. It's a little too big. Take a look at a dime. A little more than 10 millimeters. If we would measure it out. It's more like 15. What do we need on that one for the diameter? We need 11. Yeah, that'd be a little too big. So you could try to find something to do that, or you could just kind of make yourself a few targets here, like I'm doing, and then just do it by hand. And if you do that, you can probably make it round enough for that purpose so it clearly looks like a hole. Do the same thing. You know, you're going to have a little point right here, a little point right here, a little point right here. That looks pretty round. Sketch it like so. Looks like that. So now we got the circles, and again, those circles are good enough for our purposes. That takes care of the entire front view. Now take a look at what the top view looks like. Looking down at this from the top, we'll start by just blocking in the cylinder, because we've got the cylinder is going to be blocked in right here. So that outside of the cylinder is going to come in here like that. The other end of the cylinder is going to be here. That's not going to be shown all the way back, because you've got a feature here that's going to come up. So I'm just going to kind of sketch that in right there. Instead, let's get this dimension 44. Oop, I didn't do that either. Half of 44 is going to be 22. So we need 22 for the thickness of this. So on this one, we're going to come back 5, and 22 is the total. All right? 5, 10, 15, 20, 22 would be right about there. So that's the width of the top part coming down. Did I do this right? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. No, I didn't. What did I do wrong here? That's not wide enough. No, I discovered that just looking at it here. Plenty of room here. So what we need, oh, you know what I did? Okay, I need 32 here. 32 coming up or down. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 32 would have been down here. By that, it's just a mistake. I didn't do that on purpose. I just made a mistake on that. So if we come down like this, we can fix it. That's why we have erasers when we're drawing or sketching. So that's going to come down here. Means that comes down like that. Yeah. And let's leave the rest of that in here. So now that's going to look a little better to me, because the 44, 22, 5, 10, 15, 20, 22 is going to come in right about there. And we can bring that over to here. And to know how far over to bring that, we just have to take that corner right here and project it up. So that's going to come up and it's going to end right there. So now, once again, we put in our dark lines. There's going to be an object line right here. Going to be another object line. Whoop, another object line right here. Make sure that this is erased. And this coming up to here, that's going to be the side of the cylinder. It's going to look like that. And then this will come across, but it doesn't come all the way across because it's got a little bit of a depth here. Because if you take a look, this is going to drop down. So this part of the cylinder doesn't come all the way out. This part comes all the way out. And I'll do this as well. So that's how you would block in. That's how you would block in the top of this. Now coming across, how far across does that come? You can see it stops right here. So you don't even have to put a straight edge on it. You can see that that's going to come over to here. this piece right here projected up. I am going to put a straight edge on it because my eyes aren't as good as yours. That comes up to here. This right here projected up is going to be there. So I can tell that that's the other part of this. Going to do that. It'll look just like that. You got a couple other things to project up. So what's happening in here is that's going to go down. How far? 10. Half of that is 5. So this is actually going to come from here down to here. That's going to come down to here. And then you're going to have a line that comes across, but it doesn't come all the way across. It starts right there. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why you want to project from true shape, because now you can figure out what true shape is. In other words, that corner right there is going to come up, and that's going to be a line. That corner is going to be projected up, and that's going to be another line in about the same spot. Right about like that. And believe it or not, this is going to look like this. Going to have a line starting here that comes all the way across and ends right there. And then that comes up like this, and this comes up like that. And that's what the whole thing is going to look like. This comes up to here. So now there's your top view. We don't have the hidden lines in here yet, but there's your top view. The only thing I didn't do was put this corner in. That corner is that chamfer right there. And it tells you that that chamfer is a 45-degree angle. It goes back 12 millimeters or 6. 5 is close enough. 45 goes right through the middle. So we need something that looks like that. When we do that, we got to erase this. Once you've done that, where that corner shows up, now you can project that down. When you project it down, you'll have that line and this line right here. So now you got your front view and you got your top view. Oop, did you see that or not? It might have been off the camera. I'm not looking at the screen while I'm doing this, but there's my chamfer right here. I projected that up. I've put the chamfer and then projected it down. So that is, just going to look at this, that is the entire front view and the entire top view except for my hidden lines. Hidden lines are going to be put in. I'll put those in when I'm all done. So I can put some of those in right now. Let me do those. So the hidden lines you're going to make thin. So this might be a place for thickening up all of your object lines so that as you put your hidden lines in, you can make them thin. So those are my thick lines right there. So now I'll do the thin lines. You got a hole that goes all the way down through, and that hole starts at the top and goes straight down through the part. So we can take that hole and project it up. And you can see it travels right along here. So now as far as making this, yeah, it's going to be from here. So as far as making that goes, I'm going to draw hidden lines that are thinner than my object lines by tilting my lead holder up and just sketching along here. That one goes up to here. Hidden lines coming here like that. And then halfway in between, we're going to have a center line. So I'm going to do that as well, and that's going to look like this, come out like that. Is that correct? Yes, it is. Now we got some hidden lines up here as well. For one of them, it's going to be these holes, but the holes don't start here. They start at the bottom of that, and the bottom of that is this right here. So in order to figure out what's going on in the top view, I have to look and see what's going on here. So that's 22. Divide that is 11. So 2 squares is going to show me where that bottom surface is. So I'm going to come up here, and that's where I'm going to have my hidden lines right here. And how far back do they go? They go all the way back to here. Project that up So now I'm going to say my hidden lines in that top view have to come down here like that and come over here like this. Hope you can see that. So there's the hidden lines that go across. That is correct, and after that it's just a question of projecting these holes up. So again, you've got your straight edge here, your grid line here, bring that up. So that's one of the holes. The other hole here, and then you've got a center line going through here, another center line through here, and there's a perfectly good sketch of the front view and the top view. How much time do I have? I want to put a few dimensions on here. So let's, I'm going to do this. I'm going to pause this, and so I can just quickly, without talking it through, I'm going to sketch in the right side view, and then we'll do a little bit of dimension. And I'm back. I'm trying to shorten this video a little bit. So this is what the right side view would look like. I could have done a little bit neater job on that. But anyway, those are your thick lines. Now, as far as the hidden lines go, what I have to do is to take a look at where hidden features take place. And the place that hidden features take place includes that hole right there, which starts at the bottom of this. So there's going to be a hidden line right here, and then it goes to the top of that. So that's going to be a hidden line right here, coming through that. Now I'm needing a center line that comes down through. Center line looks like that, and you've got the hole, this hole coming down through. So if I bring that across, we're going to have a hidden line here as well. That hidden line is going to start at the top of this, and I've just gone over here and I've just followed that across. There's going to be another hidden line here that comes down through for the side of that hole. Down here, another one that comes down for the side of the big hole. Going to be right here. I think that's it. And then this actually is going to be extended because it includes the center line here as well. I don't like the way that looks. So I was putting the center line in just for that hole, but I need to extend it. So I'll put another little break here and have it come out like that. And it looks like here. So that center line represents the center of both those axes. That, I believe, is everything that you'd see here, with the exception, no, you do have those lines right there are that chamfer that's going to show up in the top view, which is where we're going to dimension it. Alright, now as far as putting dimensions on here, if you take a look, you're going to want the smaller dimensions to go first. So if I'm looking at the holes, and I want to put the location of those holes, I want to put what the size of that hole is as well. I'm going to leave that till the end. So we'll start with the locations. 35 and 50, those are going to be the shorter distances. 174 is longer, so the first thing we're going to do is here. Now as far as the spacing goes, you want that spacing to be based on about 10 millimeters from here, or about right up here for that first dimension. That first dimension is going to go up here. Now we're going to get rid of some of our construction lines. So if I take a look at this, I'm going to need an extension line that comes up. So let's just kind of sketch that in here, and it needs to have a gap right there. I'm going to have another crosshair here. So you need the crosshair, a gap, and then you're going to bring that up. I'm going to bring that up so it is about, going from here, maybe about 8, 5, 6, 7, 8. We really want to have it right on that line right there. I'm going to bring that extension line up a little beyond here. And I'm going to do another one over here. Got to have a crosshair right there. Then you're going to have an extension line here coming up as well, a little beyond here. And the reason for those, and then this is going to have to come up as well. That's going to come up probably all the way to there. So now I'm going to put dimension, locating this hole right here. I'm going to have one here with a little arrowhead, one here with a little arrowhead. And then I'm going to put the number, and the number is going to be 35, which is not a very good looking 35. So let's do this. I didn't have quite enough room in there to put that in. So I'm going to erase it. Notice, by the way, how many times I'm erasing. I kind of wish I'd gone and done this first before doing it. No, I don't really. So now we're going to have an arrowhead that comes off here. And have this with an arrowhead that comes off here. Now, by having the arrowheads on the outside, that leaves us enough room to put the 35 in here clearly, so it's obvious what it is. And I can put the 50 here, so it's obvious what that is as well. Now, that's the first dimension, which is space from here. The next dimension is going to go right about here, and that would be the depth of this. So I need a gap from here to here. Bring that up as an extension line. Bring that up to about here. Now, right about there. So this one's going to have a dimension line coming out here with an arrowhead on it. And kind of maybe to there. Dimension line coming here with an arrowhead on it. And that is 114. Looks like that. The arrowheads are long and skinny, by the way. Then you've got another one here. So we need a crosshair on this, crosshair on that. That's going to come out to here. This is going to come out to here. So it goes beyond my circular feature. I'm going to have another one coming down through as well. That's going to come out beyond the circular feature. This is going to come out beyond the circular feature like that. Now this is going to have to come up as well to get that in. Bring that up to about here. Arrowhead, arrowhead, and the number one is 174. Put that in like that. Bring that across here. Bring that over here like that. Now you've got a bigger gap, and then the smaller gaps go here. We're going to need a dimension over here on the outside of this. That dimension, by the way, is going to be placed with a leader. The leader is not going to go to the center, but it's going to go point at the center. So it's going to come up like that with an arrowhead right here. You can also have one for the hole. We'll bring that out here. Have that look like that. Then you have a little short landing like this. The diameter symbol 108. The diameter symbol 57. Didn't leave myself enough room. I'm going to erase that again. Bring that over here a little bit. Diameter symbol 57.15 and 57.10. So that's how that would look on this side. I need a dimension on this hole. So again, it should point toward the center. Come out here. Maybe a little further. A little short landing right here. There are two of those. And the size is space diameter 22.2. Looks like that. I think those distances, that distance right there, that's actually going to be best put on this view right here. So we're going to bring that out. And I'm going to bring this out, at least out to here. And we also need to know what this is. Bring that over here. The overall height of this, bring that out like that. So my first dimension, I'm going to put this here. Again, more space for the first dimension. That first dimension is 50. Then you've got 16 down here. Put that in like that, and we'll put the arrowhead out on the outside since there's not enough room. Not enough room for the two of them inside. Then the overall be right in about here. And the overall on this one, 82. All right, yeah, 82. Looks like that. That's yeah. Here's a case on the handout. They actually put that dimension in. That's actually over dimensioned. So of those three, since the overall given, yeah, the overall is given as well. So one of those gets left out. The one I'm going to leave out is going to be the 16. So that looks pretty good here. The other dimensions, there are a number of them to put on the right hand side as well. So the thickness of the part would have to come over here. So we're going to bring that up like that. And just make sure that's not in the way. Then this is going to come up here like so. We need the gap here. So that's going to come up here like so, a little bit further out. So that dimension, is that the dimension that's been given? It is not. This dimension was given, was it? Yeah, that dimension was given, so we're going to go right here. Have an arrowhead on the outside, have an arrowhead in here. That's going to be a 10. What else was it given? Thickness of that? 44. 108. Actually more than you need as well. So this right here, the height of that cylinder, put that in here, and that is 64. So we need that dimension. We also need that dimension, which is 22. So again, bigger space, smaller space here. We need to know this, and we need to know its location, so we're going to have to, again, eraser, if you need it, like that, to make sure there's a gap here, coming out like that. Just a little further away from the part. Need to be dimension in here, dimension here, dimension here. Well, that one probably I could have put in. So I could have put the arrowheads inside here, but I'm not going to do it for right now because I already put them in there. The 38 is going to go right there. And then the only other dimension, let me see. That's true shape, that's true shape, true shape, true shape. And we need to put, what else on the top view? We need to put the, no, we need to put the chamfer. You're going to point to it like that, a little arrowhead. Straight line that comes off here. Then you're going to put the distances for that chamfer and the fact that there are two of them. One on the top, one on the bottom. So we're going to have a 2, an X, a space, and then the distance on the chamfer is 12 millimeters. So there's a space here, 12, another space, an X, another space, and a 45-degree angle. I think that is not quite, yeah, that is everything. I think that's everything. If I miss something, I miss something. Anyway, this is for, pull that back a little bit. And I know it was probably, I was probably covering things up a little bit once in a while. A little bit hard to do this while you're trying to look at the monitor once in a while and also see what's going on here. But that's a perfectly acceptable sketch. It looks a little bit ragged. I didn't do the whole thing with a straight edge. You can do it with a straight edge if you want, so everything is nice and straight. Give yourself some help with the circular features. So, you could even find something that's round, about that size, and sketch it in. But I don't care that these aren't exactly the right size and they're not exactly circular. It's obvious that they're circles. I would be just as capable of making this from this sketch as I would if it were done on a computer, as long as all the numbers are right. And then don't forget to fill in the title block, uppercase letters only. And uppercase letters means the drawn by is your first initial, period, and then your last name. And then the instructor's name, and don't forget the date, and don't forget the title. Titles are twice as big. And here's a case where it would be helpful to some of you to have a little bit of help by sketching construction lines and just putting in something that is about 6 millimeters in height. And then you can put the title in, whatever this thing is called, and you do that at a bigger height. What is this? A feed rod. So then do your lettering, correct form. Feed rod bearing. And I think I told you I was never a good letterer. Computer-aided design was the best thing that ever happened to me. Alright, looks like I'm going to run out of space here. Maybe not. But what I'm after here is just that your letter form is correct. So, as a sketch, let's get that so it straightens out a little bit. As a sketch, nothing wrong with that. As long as all the dimensions are there, line weights look pretty good, that you'll get a 10 on that if it looks like that.